Imagine someone says life has no inherent meaning, like a coin with no heads or tails. To prove them wrong, you'd need to absolutely prove there's no God, which is super hard. Some people like the idea of a super nice God who loves everyone, even meanies. But not everyone likes the idea of everyone being included, kind of like a club with exclusive rules. Now, if this super nice God did exist, they might hide from people who actively fight against their goals, like a parent hiding presents from a child who keeps peeking. This hiding might explain why some people, like those who believe life has no meaning, don't see clear evidence of God. It's almost like they're not looking in the right place because they're not ready to cooperate. So, their belief that life is meaningless might just get stronger. God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives, who will wipe this blood off of us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement, what sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods, simply to appear worthy of it? This passage written by Friedrich Nietzsche discusses the death of God and the resulting crisis of meaning. Poses a fascinating question: what do we do when we no longer find meaning in our religions and long-standing traditions? What do we do when the very foundations of society have been broken? How do we overcome the void that nihilism leaves behind? Nihilism is the belief that life has no meaning, that morals and values don't exist, and that all of the structures and institutions we seem destined to live by aren't real. Think about it. If nothing matters, and we are just a random combination of transient atoms, then how can we ever truly say that despicable things such as slavery, apartheid, and nuclear warfare are bad? How can we call Adolf Hitler objectively one of the worst humans to ever live for trying to wipe out an entire culture? The universe might be 1,000,000 times bigger, but we will never know. We can throw words around like 200 million galaxies, or trillions of stars, or bazillions of planets, but all of these numbers mean nothing. Our brains can't comprehend these concepts. The universe is too big. There is too much of it. Immensity and incomprehensibility of the universe. But size is not the most troubling concept. We have to deal with its time, or more precisely, the time we have, a focus on the limited nature of our existence. If you don't remember the 13.75 billion years that went by before you existed, then the trillions and trillions and trillions of years that come after will pass in no time once you're gone. Close your eyes. Count to 1. That's how long forever feels. Perspective on the vastness of time and impermanence of life. In a way, it feels like the cruelest joke in existence has been played on us. We became self-aware only to realize this story is not about us. Disillusionment with the lack of inherent meaning in the universe. But so what? You only get one shot at life, which is scary, but it also sets you free, embracing the finitude of life as a source of liberation. If the universe has no principles, the only principles relevant are the ones we decide on. If the universe has no purpose, then we get to dictate what its purpose is, taking responsibility for creating meaning in a meaningless universe. We are truly free in a universe-sized playground, so we might as well aim to be happy and to build some kind of utopia in the stars, finding joy and purpose in exploration and creation. Nihilism is the belief that life has no inherent meaning or value. Nihilists, on the other hand, do not believe in anything. They don't believe that there is evil in the world, neither do they believe that there is good in the world. They say throw the entire cup away, because what does it matter if it's full or empty? Full, empty, good, bad, it's all irrelevant. We're all going to die anyway. Initially, nihilism can feel liberating, like lifting a heavy backpack packed with societal pressures and expectations. Suddenly, you're unburdened by the need to conform to external standards, free to forge your own path without the pressure to fit into a predefined mold. It can be like stepping off a well-worn path and exploring the vast, untamed wilderness of your own existence. However, this newfound freedom can also be unsettling. Without the guiding hand of societal norms and religious beliefs, you're faced with the daunting task of creating your own meaning and purpose. It's like being handed a blank canvas and told to paint a masterpiece, but lacking any prior training or direction. The possibilities are infinite, but so is the uncertainty. Furthermore, nihilism can lead to a sense of isolation. Without a shared sense of purpose or belonging to a larger community, individuals can feel adrift in a vast and indifferent universe. It's like being an actor on a stage, but the play has no script, no audience, and no defined role for you. This lack of connection can lead to feelings of loneliness and existential dread. Therefore, while the initial liberation offered by nihilism can be appealing, it's crucial to acknowledge its potential downsides. It's a philosophy that demands personal responsibility and a proactive approach to creating meaning in a seemingly meaningless world. It's like building a house from scratch. You have complete control over the design and construction, but it requires a significant amount of effort and planning. Ultimately, whether nihilism is a path to liberation or isolation depends on how you choose to navigate its complexities. Friedrich Nietzsche stands as one of the most influential figures in modern thought. He emerged at a pivotal moment in Western history, witnessing the crumbling of traditional religious faith, which left a void of meaning and purpose in its wake. This crisis of nihilism threatened to engulf humanity, and Nietzsche sought to forge a new path forward. Born in 1844, Nietzsche's early life was marked by religious devotion instilled by his father, a Lutheran pastor. However, this faith was shaken by the tragic deaths of his father and brother, exposing him to the unyielding reality of suffering. This experience undoubtedly played a role in shaping his future philosophical inquiries. Nietzsche excelled in his studies, becoming a professor of classical philology at a young age. However, his health and growing dissatisfaction with academia led him to leave his position and embark on a life of wandering and isolation. Despite facing illness, loneliness, and failed relationships, he continued to dedicate himself to philosophy. The paradox of nihilism: if you believe in nothing, then that nothing becomes something that you believe in, but since you now believe in something, then there is no nihilism, because nihilism is the belief that there is nothing. The term nihilism comes from the Latin word nihil, which translates to nothing, and ism, which translates to ideology. It's the ideology of nothing. Nietzsche's philosophy challenged the very foundations of Western thought. He argued that there are no universal truths and that all morality is subjective. He believed that the pursuit of objective truth and meaning beyond life distracts us from the richness of the present human experience. Central to Nietzsche's philosophy is the concept of the will to power, an innate drive within all living beings to strive and grow. He proposed the Overman, Übermensch, as an ideal, an individual who embraces their individuality, overcomes limitations, and creates their own meaning in life. Unlike his predecessors who advocated for minimizing suffering, Nietzsche saw it as an inevitable and potentially positive force. He believed that overcoming challenges and embracing adversity can lead to greater strength and personal growth. Despite his tragic mental breakdown and lack of recognition during his lifetime, Nietzsche's work has had a profound impact on philosophy, psychology, literature, and various other fields. His ideas, though controversial and open to interpretation, continue to spark debate and inspire critical thinking. While not without its critiques, Nietzsche's philosophy encourages individuals to think for themselves, question established norms, and forge their own paths in life. He leaves us with the challenge to create meaning in a world devoid of inherent purpose, and to embrace the process of self-overcoming in the face of life's inevitable challenges. The world has no order or structure except what we give to it. Nietzsche believed nihilism was necessary to break down old institutions and create space for something new. he saw nihilism as a transitional stage that needs to be overcome to find meaning. He distinguished between passive nihilists who embrace despair and active nihilists who strive to create their own meaning. The challenges of nihilism. Nihilism can lead to a sense of despair and loss of purpose. It can make it difficult to establish an ethical framework. It challenges the importance of communities and social connections. According to Nietzsche, overcoming nihilism involves accepting suffering and pain as part of life, taking control of one's emotions and finding personal meaning, creating new values and purpose in life. We are social animals, and community is one of the most important things in living a long and healthy life. Nihilism can be a positive force by removing the pressure to find ultimate meaning in everything. Imagine you were told you had to live your exact life repeatedly. You've learned to celebrate life as a miracle and embrace every piece of it. The odds of us just being alive are worth making the most of it. In the same vein, if we don't know where we're going or what we're going to become, how can we tell if any of our present actions have any significance at all? It's this uncertainty of both our collective pasts and futures that has allowed the question, what is the meaning of life, to plague humanity ever since we became sentient. Nihilism is the belief in nothing. All action, suffering, emotions both good and bad, are entirely senseless and meaningless. We're hit by a strong sense of purposelessness, like our lives have no meaning, and we have no intrinsic value. As Alan Watts once wrote, life is nothing more than a trip from the maternity ward to the crematorium. Usually, people confuse nihilism for pessimism, but they are very different from each other. Nihilism is also often compared to several other philosophies like cynicism and apathy, but again, they are all very different from one another. Nihilism is quite different from other philosophical ideas because it was first a literary invention before it ever became philosophical. There's political nihilism. Political nihilists believe that for humanity to move forward as a species, all political, social, and religious order must be destroyed. Then there's ethical nihilism. It rejects the idea of absolute ethical or moral values. For nihilists, the existence of things like the state, religious bodies, and even communal morality is a breach on our freedom as individuals. If we cannot answer why we bind ourselves by these rules, then why do we choose to do it? Think about it for a minute. If life is truly meaningless and everything we're doing has no value, then all the feats of science, the wonders of technology, things like space exploration and human rights movements, look at how far we've come, and then think about the fact that it all might just be a waste, a blip in time with no consequence whatsoever in the grand scheme of things. He explained that there is no objective structure or order in our world except the one we create for ourselves. He once said, every belief, every considering something true is necessarily false because there is simply no true world. He wasn't talking about the actual deity of the religions. He was talking metaphorically about the power that religious orders held at the time and how people were starting to chart their own paths, find their own meaning in life, denying what was the status quo at the time. But then, in the same breath, Friedrich argued against nihilism, saying that in the coming centuries, the advent of nihilism would drive civilization towards a catastrophe, a disaster waiting to implode. He believed that if we could work through the breakdown of civilization that nihilism would eventually cause, we can then create a new course of action for mankind. On the potential benefits of nihilism. Because at the end of the day, tearing down your self-imposed limitations and societal expectations can be incredibly freeing. It allows you to step outside the predefined box and forge your own path based on your own values and desires. Imagine breaking free from the shackles of social pressure, like being released from a prison you didn't even know you were in. This liberation can empower you to pursue your passions with authenticity and unbridled enthusiasm. Nihilism can also foster a sense of responsibility and self-reliance. When you acknowledge the absence of inherent meaning in the universe, you take ownership of creating your own purpose. It becomes your responsibility to define what matters to you and actively pursue it. This can be daunting, but it also cultivates a sense of agency and control over your own life. Furthermore, nihilism can encourage a deeper appreciation for the fleeting beauty of existence. When you recognize that life is finite and devoid of inherent meaning, it can prompt you to savor every moment, big or small. The everyday experiences that might have been taken for granted, like a sunrise or a conversation with a loved one, can suddenly hold a deeper significance. This newfound appreciation can lead to a richer and more meaningful experience of life, even within the framework of nihilism. However, it's important to acknowledge that these potential benefits are not guaranteed and come with potential drawbacks that should be considered carefully before embracing a completely nihilistic worldview. While nihilism can offer liberation, responsibility, and a deeper appreciation for life, it's not a one-size-fits-all philosophy. Whether it resonates with you or not is a personal journey. Remember, you have the freedom to choose your own path, whether it aligns with nihilism, embraces a different philosophy, or carves its own unique path through the vast landscape of human experience. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.